Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. Bruno Behrend, please tell us, lay this out for us. I can't wait to hear, and our listeners are waiting.
Well, so I use the word government education complex, and people say, well, what is that? Well, number one, it's the Federal Department of Education, which is now like a 7 to 10% tail wagging a 90% state and local funding dog.
Is this the NEA?
Well, it's the DOE, the Department of Education, with the millions of Title I dollars and all the special things that they're doing with No Child Left Behind and now
Arnie
Duncan? Race to the Top, Arnie Duncan. That's part of it. Then you've got 50 state boards of education, which are empowered under each state's constitution to run education a certain way. Then you've got 15,000 school districts or various different districts, which take in all the local dollars in terms of either state and local funding for school districts. You got large districts, small districts, and things like that. That's the government side, and not to mention all the regional districts and all the other stuff. Now you've got not only that, but you've got all of these private interests, bond dealers. Daily Herald and
they have a huge effect on what's happening.
They love to do nothing but churn local finance, and lawyers get in on it. And then they have law firms for the districts, and these are then there's bus companies and textbook companies. And you know we're supposed to have this broad system of 14,000 districts, but there's really 3 or 4 or 5 textbook companies that literally what happens in Texas has to happen across the country. That's not local control. And then you've got the unions and the non-governmental organizations, and it's not just the teachers' unions, but it's the Illinois Association of School Boards, Illinois Association of School Board or Superintendents. And these are massive lobbies. They use your district dollars to get dues to be paid in. They become massive lobbying organizations. So that's the complete, and then you've got the PTAs and the PTOs and a lot of the parent groups that are, quite frankly, nothing more than co-opted parent groups that are doing the bidding of the system. This is how this is all piled in. And here's my next thing I tell people. You can't reform the system. You can't fix it. You can't take it back to the 50s and 60s when American schools were the best in the world, because it's too far gone. And so that's the size of the monster. How this all works, well, obviously we've got union contracts, we've got administration contracts. Here's a figure very few people know. And you want to talk about more money for good teachers? Here's where you find it. 6.3 million people in the country are employed in public schools. 3.1 million of them are administration and support. Jack is absolutely right. It's become a jobs program for a quite frankly, not that necessary and not that effective group of people. Right, Jack?
Yeah. If you dig into them, as I've done, because I found out when we started publishing teachers' salaries that they're way higher than, first of all, let me put a disclaimer in here. I want to say that the only reason this system works at all well and does any good for anybody is that there is a lot of individual integrity in teachers. To give it one view, I'd say 50% of the teachers are saints working in a lousy system and doing their best, and the other half have retired while still on the payroll. I never found a teacher to disagree with that description. So individual integrity is a thing, but the organization itself is the worst run organization of any sort in the whole state of Illinois, and I think, I don't have the experience nationally, but judging by it, as a businessman, I've built 4 companies from the bottom up, so I've hired a lot of people, and at Auto Engineering we got about 600 employees. We're growing all the time. Manufacturing in America, we're growing. But we give an arithmetic test, a 6th grade arithmetic test to all job applicants. We found out that 3/4 of them can't pass at the 6th grade level. So we give them more time, and we take an eased up 5th grade test, and with that, 50% of the job applicants, and we have applicants from floor sweepers to large engineering department to feed into this average. So we have to run schools on site to teach people the necessary things about reading blueprints, doing simple arithmetic, speaking, management, leadership. We do all of that on site with considerable help from the one part of education that I keep saying nice things about, is the 2-year community colleges here in Illinois.
Best education dollars spent, and even that has, you know, too much administration and too much bloat, but the community college system is probably one of the most effective dollars you can spend in education. And quite frankly, a lot of the stuff that they do in the K-12 system, if they simply partnered for the accelerated kids, for example. And this goes to the question that you asked earlier, is, well, how do you fix this? And dismantlement sounds like a bad word. Well, here's how it works. Number one, you have to increase the ability for schools to become independent charters, because an independent charter school is going to be able to create a curriculum or do something independently of the massively heavy and wasteful federal, state, local complex. Next, for whether you start with special needs or you start with everybody, you give kids vouchers. And what this does is that this allows them, if they're not happy with the system, whether they don't like it because it's not right for them or whether it's not working for them, you give the parent the power to choose the education they want for their child. And then more importantly, or now, what's
the
really...
Supreme Court has ruled on that. Education of the kids is not the responsibility of the bureaucrats. It lies with the parents. But
Absolutely.
But the other bunch is getting the money.
But, you know, so I want to say something, because I'm in District 15 for the K through till the 8th grade, and then my son is in District 211 in high school.
Okay.
And my son is gifted. He's always been in these accelerated classes. And District 15 has a phenomenal program, because when he was very young, we sent him to a private gifted school.
Okay.
And a lot of the kids from this private gifted school couldn't get into the public school gifted program. So the standards were higher at the public school in our district.
Okay.
Now, on the other side of the spectrum, they have a phenomenal program for the more challenged children. And people move to this district because they really have a great program for the kids that are developmentally challenged. So as a taxpayer that I feel our schools are doing a good job, I hear this dismantle, and it's like, wait a second, I think our schools are and I'm talking 215,
Carol,
I mean, District 15.
Okay.
It's amazing that you've managed to do anything. That's so rare. I mean,
and it's rare.
It just doesn't exist.
It's rare, and to Jack's point.
But it's the exception. But I mean, there are models of some good district schools. Now, mind you, it's
good as comparison with the trash that is endemic all around this country, and certainly in Illinois. It's only by comparison with the lousy schools. Give you an example in Barrington. You know, I love Barrington. A lot of nice people there.
Great community.
And they got a popular school system. But there's a family that went to work came out of Germany and worked for Motorola, and set up and spent half a dozen years in this country. Their daughter that went through the Barrington school system with A grades went back to Germany finally, the family did, and they set her back 2 years.
And this is
anything good is only by comparison with trash.
And here, first of all, that was exactly our experience with my nephew, who lived with us for a year and went to Oak Park River Forest, which is another supposedly great school. And he ended up struggling when he went back to Germany.
I went there years ago when it was great.
And so, this is the specific answer to your question. Let's assume that everything you're saying about District 15 and 211 is correct. What is the expense for that system? And this is what all of the parents who are afraid of the word dismantle need to know. It's like, well, what if that was available? What if all those good things were available to you without the bureaucracy, without the roofing contracts, without having to set aside a whole new building or a whole new section, or the 7 administrators it takes to quote unquote manage that gifted program, when in fact a good gifted school will work just as well. So here's my response to all of those parents who are frightened about this word. if the money follows the child, those opportunities are going to be there independent of this huge bureaucracy. And at the very least, this huge bureaucracy needs to be challenged with competition so that it itself will get better for less money instead of being a protected monopoly. And here's the last thing you can say about this. You have this system here in 211, but what about the kids in Chicago who might have a shot at this but can't because they spend the money poorly?
Well, you just said it, competition. And the antithesis of competition is bureaucratic socialism.